for me in my leadership journey, attaching myself to the mission, fighting for the mission, has always been simple. And for me, learning about, respecting, working within, and anticipating margin concerns has always been slower to come naturally. There are some people who will listen to this who connect very clearly to the margin and struggle to get to the mission. That's okay. There is not a decision making table in any healthcare organization that thrives when everyone is mission driven or that thrives when everyone is margin driven. So, I come from a high mission drive, and I want to share with you what I find valuable, both as I grow as a leader and as I recognize my need to participate in margin based discussions, how I justify my mission based desires and programs, and how I know which way the pendulum swings. So let's get started with the primary book I believe every leader still must read: The Art of War. This is an ancient Chinese text. And the way that you're going to get it is obviously through the bookseller of your choice. Think about an independent just for the fun of it. You're going to get a translated version unless you read Chinese. You're also going to find there are a tremendous number of versions of this book that have a subtitle to them. The Art of War in Business, The Art of War in Relationship, The Art of War in Competitive Pokemon, all those sorts of things. There's a ton of people who have taken the anchoring text of The Art of War and then added their own, not just translation, but their own meaning and vibe to it. It may be that those are easier for you to approach. I personally encourage reading just a solid translation of it in whatever way that that works for you. There are graphic novel versions of this book. There are audiobook versions of it. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can approach it. Here's why I think that it is still absolutely mission critical to have taken in and given thought to this book. Reading it on its own, not going to take you very long. This is a Saturday morning read. If you slow down through each of the stanzas within this, because it is poetically written in parts, if you take each of those stanzas and think about not what it's saying in the concept of actual war, but the way that you see it play out in your organization. If you sit with that for a little bit, it helps to identify things that are happening around you at work. Because regardless of whether or not this is an official text of your organization, it absolutely has influenced people in your organization, either because they have read it or because their mentor read it when they were beginning their career, or because they come to it intuitively. So let's take an example of this. In The Art of War, at one point, they talk about people who are on the high ground, and that as a military leader, if you can hold the high ground, you are much more untouchable because you can always see who's coming at you. The downside of being on the high ground is that your supply chain must get through everybody else to get to you. And so when you look at that in terms of what healthcare organizations do in their inner workings, in their in their insides, what you get is you can look around and you can see where the focus is on programming, on recruitment, on community outreach. And you can see in that the ways that some people, and maybe it's you, are on the high ground. They have easier access to the executives, they have easier access to the money, they have easier access to human resources. But what you'll also notice is that nobody stays on the high ground forever. And so there will be a time that they're on the high ground and it feels like the entire organization is looking at them, doing things for them, focused on them. And that, as a new or aspiring leader, can be frustrating, especially if that is when you enter your leadership position. Is you look around and you're like, wow, it sure looks easy to be in that department. They get new people every day, and I can't even get this entry level person replaced. I don't understand. What you need to understand, and what the art of war helps you understand, is whether or not it is valuable for you as a leader to look for ways to align with people on the high ground, look for ways to build up your own team to get the high ground time at some other point, and to look at when the sand is shifting underneath the high ground. Because in healthcare, it does. And that's great. It's absolutely necessary and required for the high ground to shift. You actually want it to. But you do not want to be in a position where it starts to shift your programs, your department, your passion work starts to gain high ground and you're not prepared for it. So, The Art of War, I highly encourage that you read it. Take it in little bit by little bit, keep it on your shelf, and start to look for the ways that you see it playing out in your own organization. I'm interested to hear what you have to say about The Art of War. I'll talk to you in a couple weeks. I hope everything is great. Do you have water near you? Get yourself a drink. I'll talk to you soon.